Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pos-cast with Rabbi Shmuel Posner and myself, Seth Hellman. Not an ideal weekend, Rabbi. Not an ideal weekend at all. How are things in the Boston area? I know that I've got my ear to the ground on certain things, but you're certainly you're right there. You're in the middle of it.
Not ideal. Not ideal. I mean, from our perspective, not ideal, obviously. Since we name drop on this podcast, we found out on Shabbos because Garrison dropped in and he explained that his phone, you don't have to turn it on. It was a whole complicated explanation, but basically he gave us the heads up what was going on. So it's been difficult and challenging for people, and that's why we decided to do this postcast a day earlier. Actually, because I'm getting messages and phone calls from alumni, wanted to know, different questions like, how are we supposed to feel about this? What should we do? What would the Rebbe say? So I thought that instead of me sitting and answering people individually, we should talk about it and then let the world know what we have to say. So yeah, it's very difficult. It's awful. Right? It's awful. There's no words to describe how terrible it is. I think everybody knows that. Somebody said that the images are horrible, and I said, yeah, I heard about that, and the advice was not to look at them. I think that's very good. That's very valid. There's no value to that. We know that horrible stuff was done. No one is fully protected from knowing how bad it is, and to indulge in videos that the enemy put up. And then having those images in your mind is just not productive. There's no value to that whatsoever. So we're going to talk about this from many different angles. We probably could have this conversation for 2 hours, and we'll try to keep it down to half an hour. So I'm going to spit out a few things, and we'll just see how the conversation goes. So let's start. Number one is initial reaction. Initial reaction is like complete shock and dismay. Like, this is just beyond horrible, beyond awful. Words used to describe it is, Israel's 9/11, Israel's Pearl Harbor, a day right out of the Holocaust book. Just the amount, the numbers. So all that is, we don't have to dwell on that. We understand the enormity of it, and really the question we want to know is how we deal with it. And I think the first thing is not to talk about the enormity of it. There's just no value. You know what it is. You know how terrible it is. Let's talk about what we can do about it. And I'll be referencing the rally or vigil, whatever they want to call it, that was held yesterday at Boston Common, where the whole Jewish community was there, and every politician, just numerous politicians, I think went on for 2 hours. Chabad, strategically around the perimeter of the whole gathering, had filling tables set up. There's probably like 10, 15 guys, armed and ready to wrap you. And Baruch Hashem, it went pretty fantastic, and that's another thing we can talk about. But let's pull back a second for the initial reaction coming on Yontif. And we didn't have all the details. We had a general thing, and I specifically didn't want to indulge. I could have gone to the policeman outside, and he would have told more details. But there was just no. The determining factor on Yontif was keep Yontif holy. There's no reason to disturb the Yontif. There's nothing. We can't do anything. Even God forbid if somebody loses a parent, Le'aleinu, on Yontif, you have to keep on doing Yontif. You don't break Yontif for it. You don't start mourning. You don't diminish anything. Surely not outwardly. So to me, the first thing that was very important was to take control of the atmosphere in the Chabad house and say, it is Yontif, and we're going to do Yontif. Now, Mendy from Northeastern came over with his students Saturday night, Motzei Shabbos, for Simchas Torah, has been the custom the past few years. And, we prepared an enormous spread of food, and it was a tremendous, beautiful atmosphere with, 60, 70, 80 students were here. It's really beautiful. And Mendy told me, he spoke to me privately and said, what are we going to do here? Some of the students have said we shouldn't even do hakafas. We don't want to come for hakafas. One of the alumni called and said that his shul, they had very muted hakafas. Another person from a different shul in Boston said there was a discussion whether you should have a kafis, not a kafis. We as Jewish people don't go with our emotions because we feel our emotions. Doesn't mean we're not human, but we try to temper and guide our emotions according to what the Torah says. And so when we start our kafis at the Chabad house on Motzei Shabbos and Simchas Torah, so I had to set the tone. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? And what I said was, we have a great party. You guys had a great spread downstairs. We were eating a couple little l'chaim, some extra special wine. But this is a party, but it's not a frat party. It's not like we're not partying for the sake of partying. We are celebrating the Torah. Simchas Torah is celebrating the fact that Hashem gave us the Torah, that we're God's chosen people. And Hashem said, celebrate on Simchas Torah. It's a yontif. You shall celebrate. V'samachta b'chagecha. You should be happy. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do this because it's a mitzvah to do it. Now, inside of us, we're at pain. We got to put that on the side. And I wasn't encouraging them to ignore their feelings. And you have those feelings, it's true. But at the same time, sometimes you have a lot of conflicting things going on at once. And you focus on what you have to focus on, And so, and this was the Rebbe's message. Whatever I'm saying is the glean from what the Rebbe said before the 6-Day War, Yom Kippur War. I mean, every time there's been a tragedy, the Rebbe has come out and spoken and gave us guidance in this direction. And this is the direction about Yontif, especially the Yom Kippur War, which happened on Yom Kippur and stretched into Sukkot. The Rebbe was very explicit that the way to deal with this is with joy. And remember, Yom Kippur War, I think there was 2,000 casualties. I mean, that was also, this what happened on Shabbos is comparable to Yom Kippur War. Complete surprise, complete overrun. I mean, it's just like, wow, it's taken on the same playbook. Israel completely not prepared. All the same things. And you can, if you want to continue, which I don't see anybody talking about it, it's the same set of miracles. I mean, why did they stop there? Why did they only have 200 fighters that came in, Yimach Shemam? They could have had 2,000 and it could have gone, I don't want to even say the words how more awful it could have been. So, of course, you can't say that to people. 900 people, that's a lot. I mean, one person is a lot. 900 is huge. But we do have to recognize that in spite of how unprepared Israel was, the circumstances, relatively speaking, we have to say thank you, Hashem. Okay, but put that on the side for right now. But the point is that when we're sitting in shul, the way that we're going to, here's the key approach. How do we deal with this is the way Hashem tells us to deal with it. We as Jews, and I had this conversation on the Boston Common with people, I asked them to put on tefillin. And I was saying to them, look, all these politicians talking and saying, we're going to protect Israel, we're not going to let Israel down. And I said, turn to somebody quietly. I said, you're not going to let us down? Like, who are you? You're like, maybe you're the mayor of Boston or the governor of Massachusetts or even a U.S. senator. What do you mean you're not going to? It's your choice, and if you do let us down, we'll be let down. We won't be let down. We Jews have to look at ourselves, our history of 3,500 years, 2,000 years solid in exile. We have survived, not because of anybody wanted us to survive. Along the way, and we have to recognize this, thank God, America is with Israel. That's fantastic. Baruch Hashem 5 times over. But we don't depend on it. That's the channel Hashem chose right now. It's their choice. Okay, we could argue whether non-Jews have choice. It's their choice, and they made that choice. We're thankful to them. But we're not, I was a little like, I understand why it was, but at the rally, like, every time somebody said, we stand with Israel, like, yay! Like, guys, these are politicians talking, and they're saying what they have to say, which is nice. And if you want to applaud them to be polite, I got it. But if you really feel that you have to be thankful to them and this is like some great thing, that's foolishness. So really, what we depend on is Hashem. Hashem. And And so if Hashem says on Simchas Torah, celebrate, that's the channel for the bracha. That's not against it. That's not disregarding this tragedy. Quite to the, and the tragedy which happened and is happening currently. Let's keep that in mind. This is not over. It's not completely not over until every single Jew is returned back to their family and everything's put back in, things are put in control. So we're in the middle of this war. And what we have to do is we have to say, what is the message to us that the Torah gives us? And so I posted on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I found some pictures that they posted on one of the Chabad websites of Chabadnikim putting on tefillin with reservists going up, going reporting to duty and putting on tefillin with them. And the caption was, "What can we do? Do what they're doing." These are soldiers going to war. They're putting on tefillin. Why? Because tefillin, the Gemara says, the Pasuk says that the nations of the world will see the name of Hashem upon you and they'll fear you. What is that? That's a tefillin shebereish, the bring tefillin. Okay, and obviously again, the Rebbe emphasizes very much when he started the tefillin campaign, 1967. That's real. That is real, and here's really the crux of the issue. The crux of the issue is, and that's why. I mean, I can talk about what happened yesterday for hours. People that didn't want to put on tefillin. Like when I first set up the table, there was a little WhatsApp chat, to know who should be organized, who's where, and what's going on. I said, guys, I need backup here. I got a line of people. I'm one guy putting on tefillin, and there's like 4 people waiting in line. I need help. And these were people I didn't even ask. It was like, and the beautiful thing was, it was young kids. Young kids is teenagers. And they were coming over to put on tefillin. I said, this is beautiful, it's amazing. They realized that, and I'd have to give them a long speech. Maybe they heard from somebody else, whatever. But it was something that intuitively, we got to do a mitzvah. The people didn't, and I struggled for a long time having conversations with people and then thinking about it. People didn't want to put on tefillin. I'm like, why not? Like, we're assembling here as Jews. Okay, if I would have given you a nickel to put in the pushka, they probably would have done it because it's not, what's the big deal? Okay, I understand people coming, coming with their baggage and their background, and why they might not want to do it. But it was a little upsetting. And to one person, he said to me, like he didn't come over the table. He was like sort of walking by, so I wanted to put on film. He said, "It's not about this." I said, "This is Judaism. This is not about Judaism." And he said, "No," and I instinctively I just laughed. Not laughing to mock him, but laughed like, how can you say it's not about Judaism? Because this is what it comes down to. It's not geopolitics we're talking about here. We're talking about Judaism. We're talking about Israel. And really, I understand, because you have to really dig down deeper. Why is Israel important? That whole thing, when you have quote-unquote secular Israelis, like, that's the whole conversation with them. Why is Israel? Why are we interested in this land to begin with? Let's just pick up and leave and move into a nicer neighborhood, get more friendly neighbors. So that's really, and you're not going to have that conversation on the Boston Common when in the middle of a rally. But I think in some ways that is the point. So there is that group that I don't do tefillin, and I don't see any connection to what we're doing. I got that. You have those that are coming over and putting on tefillin. Yes, I want to do tefillin. There are those who need a little convincing and saying that when you do a mitzvah, what Hashem wants, that brings goodness and blessing for us and for the Jews in Israel as well. I think that's really the group that we were, of course we're looking for the people who should have put it on this morning but didn't, that group, that's the easy group. But then you have the group that like normally wouldn't do it but did it because, one of the alumni responded to the Facebook post and said, I put on film this morning, which is fantastic, which is a kid that needs a reminder. And my response to him was, make it a daily habit. Because if that's what you need to push you to do it, then do it. I don't know if I mentioned this last week. Some kid came a couple of weeks ago. His father's in operation, a whole business, whatever, and he needed a connection. So he came and we put on tefillin. He was crying. His father lives in a different country, and it was emotional. I got that, and but he grew up familiar with Yiddishkeit. Leave it at that. And I said to him, you got to put on tefillin every day. You got to have your mother, father, cousin, brother send you your tefillin, because when you walk in here, because your father is undergoing operation, thank God it was all successful, and you know tefillin is going to help, it's going to help every day. It's important every single day. And that's really the message. If this motivates people to start putting on tefillin every day, that's a good thing, especially for the duration of the danger that's going on right now, for sure. So coming back to the original thought, Simchas Torah, we danced. And I said the more simcha we dance with, the more blessing will come down to the Jewish people. Why? Because Hashem says Yontif is a time of joy.
Well, let's talk a little bit BU specific here, because Boston University, where you are located, has one of the largest Jewish populations of any university in the country. It's massive. I think it's over 25% of the population at BU, of the undergraduate population at BU, is Jewish. And BU has, in what I like to call them, is it's another spineless move from a spineless, gutless organization, has yet to make a statement of any kind on the matter. Any email that went out to students said it was directed towards, and it didn't even go out to all Jewish students. It went out to like a couple of Israeli students, and it said something along the lines of, with the news about your community, if you need support, go to Marsh Chapel. All right, so you're sending Jews to a chapel. And the Students for Justice in Palestine group is actively celebrating what's going on.
Really?
So BU as an organization is failing its students right now. Plain and simple. There needs to be a statement of support for your Jewish students. You can't have this massive population and not be supporting your students just in any way and being completely radio silent about this. BU Hillel, to their credit, has had statements, right? They've been active on their Instagram account. They sent out an email to people, right? They've been active in that way. But I know for a fact that it's still falling short, because I know that there are students who do not feel safe on campus right now, because they know that there is an active organization, an active student organization that is currently, supporting and celebrating what is going on. So there are students who don't feel safe right now expressing their Judaism. And so when it comes to Shabbos, they asked if there's going to be just one security person outside. That's not something that is unheard of. It's happened before when there are large Shabbats, when there are when it's the high holidays, they have someone outside from BPD. And right now, all that we know is that they're going to have an increased number of patrols going through the area, and that whatever security organization that Hillel works with says that it's not necessary at this time. And if it shouldn't matter if it is necessary. If your students feel the need to have it, they should have it. And I know that obviously, it's Hillel, Chabad, whatever. I'm just saying that as Jews, we support other Jews, right? Regardless of whatever the thoughts are between their administration and Chabad, we want Judaism to be going positively, and we want people to actively want to be participating in their Judaism. And right now, students do not feel safe doing that, and there needs to be an extra step taken in order to do that.
Right. Absolutely. And yesterday I met a lot of BU students actually at the rally yesterday. So it's not like the Jewish students are without any support or any community. There was many of them. I met Northeastern students, BU students, other universities that showed up essentially because there was no school yesterday. So I hear what you're saying, and we definitely, I'm going to get out there on campus, and I've been, talking to students and all that kind of stuff. That's going to happen. I was reading somewhere online, like different towns and the statements they made, like the town of Brookline, right? Which people confuse with Brooklyn. Right. And not because it sounds the same, but it's like a lot of Jews there, thank God, in Kenya. And they put out some statement about the situation happening in the world, or something so benign, like you can't they had to get a barrage of X messages, whatever you call it, until they like said the word Israel. Come on, guy, what do you say? What it is? What is your problem? I mean, and I think this comes down to a core issue, and that is the people in public life are too timid to make an absolute statement between good and evil. Number one. Number two is to identify who is good and who is evil. So to say that Israel was attacked by evil terrorists, somehow they have a difficulty getting that out of their mouth. Now, even to the credit of the President of the United States, and came out straight out. This is clear. This is like, there's always like, the de-escalate the violence on all sides. That they haven't. They're going to say that. They're going to say at some point. They're going to say that, obviously. But initially, it was very clear. This was an absolute open terrorist attack. Women, children, older women. The atrocity of it was unequivocal and undeniable. There's no good to this whatsoever. Not a scintilla of good to it.
The best part to me,
I think this is the politics of the day where people don't want to come out and say the truth. So I'm going to pivot from what you said, Seth, and I'm not going to waste my time. We'll deal with that. We'll deal with the administration. I'll get the kids. I'm going to go on campus. I'm going to find the kids. Tell them to, beat up on the university. I know I talked to Dr. Abrams this morning. And there's discussion amongst professors, also their disappointment why the school hasn't said anything. I can almost guarantee you whatever the school's going to say, it's not going to be right. It'll be probably more good than bad. They're not going to get it right because it's not their approach to say straight out right and wrong, because we got to be careful about the feelings of the other students. What are they going to say? Whatever minority it is. But they're paying students, and the university is a business. Let's talk, put it clearly what it is. And these people are paying full tuition. They don't want to, get them upset.
Right. But that's the thing is when you say that, hang on though. But when you say that, when you say it's a business and they don't want to be angering people that are paying the tuition, the NHL, the NFL, the New England Patriots, the MLB, the NBA, the PGA Tour, all of those are businesses. They are literally there to make money. That is their entire purpose. All of them made statements, most of them directly mentioning Israel and saying our hearts go out to the people who are victims of the violence in Israel and the terrorist attacks.
Because that's sports brain. They're not that complicated. You got to hit the puck into the thing. You got to put the ball into the basket. You got to hit the ball over the fence. It's very clear. And I'm saying this jokingly, but I mean it seriously. It's very simple. There's good and bad. They're good, they're bad. Don't now let's go play ball. These are people making millions of dollars to be able to throw a basketball into a basket. And I was pretty good in yeshiva. But that's what they're. So yeah, they came out. They don't care. Like what sensitivity? Well, you can't see good and bad here. It's very simple. Now let's move on. Let's continue. The school has is this because they're this intelligentsia, and you have to be like and you have to be careful and you think about it. But I just saw a post from, I think, USC, where they're having keepers on campus, right? Have guys post pictures of themselves wearing a kippah on campus. I know I've talked about this 1,000 times that we should do that at BU. I think they're thinking about it. All Jewish guys wear a yarmulke, a kippah, call it what you want, beanie, call it what you want, but identify clearly as a Jew. That's your statement. Your statement is, see, here's the deal. What are we going to do? What are our statements going to help? It's all a bunch of narishkeit. What's going on in Israel that could give, whatever, there's 500 rallies one way, 1,000 rallies the other way. It makes no freaking difference at all whatsoever. What makes a difference is for the individual Jews to feel, like you're saying, to feel safe. When you walk down the street and you see 25, 30, 40, 50, 100 guys wearing yarmulkes, I guarantee you Jewish students are going to start feeling safe. Because they say, this guy, how many times has it happened on table and putting on film with a guy and some of the guy goes over and says, you're Jewish? I'm in your class. I didn't even know. And every time it happens, I'm like doubly excited. Guys putting on tefillin, get the other guy to put on tefillin. But two Jews met, they found each other. It's like incredible. But on the other hand, it's so disappointing. Like, you don't even know that, and on the other hand, how should you know? They don't talk about Judaism whenever they're studying. But to have that identity, to know that you're surrounded by Jews is very comforting. So I think that's the thing that needs to happen. And that's why we have to have a rally at university. Not because we have to have somebody from the administration talking and someone else talking and I don't know, all that droning on. Just the fact that get all the Jews together, sing some nice Jewish song, hopefully that's one of the things that, I wasn't really listening to the speeches at the rally yesterday. I was directly trying to get people to put on film. That was my mission. But overhearing a little bit, I didn't hear anybody talk about God. Hashem was not mentioned. It's all talking about everything around it. But the bottom line is that we know our survival. Every time a tragedy happens, we're like consumed with the tragedy in front of our eyes, which makes sense. But then when you step back and you say, "Oh, this is like the Holocaust," like, yeah, and we survived the Holocaust and the Spanish Inquisition and the Crusades. Those were all horrible, terrible. This falls right in line with it. And that's the horror of it is that in 57, 84, 2023, the way they count, we're still having the same thing. This is a crusade. This is an Spanish Inquisition. It's a Holocaust. We haven't moved one iota from that. But from the other side is, you're not going to phase us with that. We have pain from it. We care. What Golda Meir said, that there'll be peace when they care as much about losing their kids as we care. Something along those lines about we care more about killing them than they care about their kids dying. Whatever, something like that. But the point is that we the pain we have from our fellow Jews that lost their lives and that are suffering right now, we can't. We're losing sleep over it. But at the same time, you think you're gonna affect the existence of the Jewish people? Because essentially that's what Hamas is. When you listen to the apologists saying, well, the Israeli soldiers go there in the middle of the night and wake people up and da-da-da. Yeah, they're looking for terrorists. They're not looking to harass. Do civilians suffer? Absolutely they suffer. You know why? Because you're married to a terrorist and you live in the same house as him. What do you
want? Hamas uses human shields. Let's not forget that. When people talk about Israel firing on civilian targets, they're not firing on a civilian target. They're firing on a terrorist target that happens to have civilians because they use civilians as shields.
Because they use because they moved into your basement with their arms. So I'm just saying that we have something much deeper and much greater, and that's what we need to focus on. And that's what we need to express our Judaism. We need to express our trust in Hashem. People have to get used to recognize that within themselves, we're a minority, and we shouldn't exist. Nature has decreed that the Jews should not exist. We exist because Hashem wants us to exist. That's the bottom line. Everything else is commentary. How exactly it happens, that's all part of the bigger plan. Whether it's England or France or at some point Germany, at some other point Rome, everybody welcomed the Jews and took care of them until they didn't. Right now, Baruch Hashem, we're at the last stage because Mashiach is coming. So the United States is at the finish line. Mazel tov. But we don't rely on them. They're the shliach right now, and that's the whole point. That's why the emphasis is when people say, "Oh, so what do we do now? Again, Torah and mitzvahs? Daven more, say more Tehillim, learn more Torah, and do more mitzvahs." We've heard that before. I'm like, yes, that's exactly right. Exactly right. Every morning you wake up and you eat breakfast. Every morning. It's so boring. Yes, because it's a new day, you need new nutrition, and what worked yesterday will work today. This is the nutrition of the Jewish existence is Torah and mitzvahs. That's what we need to do. And so one guy said to me, what would the Rebbe say now? What would the Rebbe say? The same thing he said then. Because all he's doing is, someone was saying they put a video where this frum couple came to the Rebbe, I don't remember, 70s, 80s, something was going on in Israel. And they, meekly and respectfully asked the Rebbe, our daughter's in seminary in Israel, should we bring her back to the United States? And the Rebbe was like, Chas v'shalom. What? You can't even, of course not. It's the safest place for a Jew to be. And don't even tell your daughter to even entertain the thought. And then the Rebbe said, and the mother says, well, but she's on break now. She's in between semesters. And the Rebbe says, but she's in Yerushalayim, the capital city of Israel. She learned so much just being there. In other words, the Rebbe was not going to budge from saying. And then the Rebbe said, "We're waiting for Mashiach come imminently, and we're going to go to Yisrael. You want to come out? Like, why waste a plane ticket? We're going back anyway." So then, the comments, people saying, "Is that relevant now? Is not relevant now?" Like, what are you people fools? The Rebbe wasn't saying something because he had a prophetic vision that in 1973 it'll be safe in Israel. And in 1967 and 1982, every time. No, the fact of the matter is that the Torah tells us this is Hashem's home for the Jewish people. Okay, it's not the way it should be because Mashiach is not here, but still, that didn't change the fact. So is it the same today? Yes, exactly the same today. And Torah mitzvahs are exactly the same. Yes, tefillin protected Jews in the times of the Talmud, where Eliezer Haggadol said, this is what brings fear to the nations, and for the next 2,000 years until the Rebbe said it, exactly the same thing worked. At times of the Alter Rebbe, it always works. That's how it works. Cheerios and milk in the morning. This is not a paid advertisement. Gives you nutrition in the morning. It happens every single day. It's happened to your grandparents, your grandchildren. They're all going to do the same thing, and it's fine. That's really the message. The message to get through all the is to really understand that. And people who are not accustomed to thinking this way, this is why they're having difficulty. What do we do? What do we do? How do we do this? So therefore, Simchas Torah morning, there's messages flying all over the place, and on Shabbos and this, because it's an emergency. So, I'm not sure what they do on a regular Shabbos. I'm saying, like I was talking to. By the time Yom Tov is over, some universities already had all kinds of plans. Like, we're like, wait a second, we didn't plan anything. We were busy doing Yom Tov. Why? Because they're like looking from the earthly point of view. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to react? And we're looking at like, what does Hashem want us to do?
I think that's a good spot to wrap up here.
Okay.
I'm Yisrael Chai. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves. Have a good rest of your week. Stay off social media. Don't expose yourself to take a day. Take a day like it's Shabbos in the middle of the week. Just stay off social media. And then when you choose to go back on, don't catch up. Just wherever you are, start there and go.
Right. And be Jewish. Be Jewish.
Above all else.
Every person in their thing, do it. Take a Jewish friend out and go eat a kosher lunch somewhere. Just connect to Jews and build up Jewish identity. And that alone, I think, is very healing for people, to be together with other Jews. And Hashem should help that this should be the last, final straw that will break the Golus's back. And we'll have Mashiach and have peace for us and for the world. The world thinks we're running off from Mashiach somewhere to a mountain. No, the whole world will be a better place.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.